Hello viewers, welcome to this video. In this video, we will be looking at the November 2021 Science Paper 2 question B2. Question B2 is a question that deals with separation techniques. Okay, the question reads, the following is a list of methods used to separate mixtures. The following is a list of methods used to separate mixtures: filtration, chromatography, crystallization, distillation, fractional distillation, evaporation. Filtration, chromatography, crystallization, distillation, fractional distillation, evaporation. Choose from the list above the suitable method that would be used to. Choose from the list above the suitable method that would be used to. A. Obtain pure water from sodium chloride solution. Obtain pure water from sodium chloride solution. All right. Here, what is so important is the water, which is the solvent. Okay, solvent or the solution. So the water is the most important thing. The sodium chloride, on the other hand, which is the solute, is not so important. So what we need is the water and not the solvent. So here we make sure that we extract all the water and not minding about the sodium chloride. So from the list above, the only methods that would be able to allow us to extract a liquid from a solution is 1. Distillation. Secondly, fractional distillation. However, remember the question is saying suitable. Okay? Therefore, we reanalyze our two options. Simple distillation or just distillation. Okay? This is a separation technique that is used to separate a liquid. Okay? A liquid from a soluble solid. A liquid from a soluble solid. While fractional distillation is a method used to separate two or more miscible liquids. Two or more miscible liquids that have varying boiling points. Okay? Or that have different boiling points. So when we compare these two, this one, it is used to separate just liquids, miscible liquids, while this one is used to separate a solid, is used to separate a liquid from a soluble solid. So we have this. So what is our question dealing with? Are they all liquids? No. The only liquid is the water. The sodium chloride is a solid, and the solid is soluble. So we can see that distillation will be our best option. So it's a distillation. So distillation. B. Separate a mixture of ethanol and water. Separate a mixture of ethanol and water. Again, ethanol is a liquid. Okay? It is a liquid belonging to the family of alcohols. And water, we've got water. So these two are miscible. It means that when you mix water and ethanol, there is no clear distinction on which is the water and which is ethanol. So they mix uniformly. However, water has got a boiling point of 100 degrees Celsius, while ethanol has got a boiling point of 78 degrees Celsius. So you can see that these two liquids have different boiling points and they mix fully, and they are all liquids. And we want to separate the mixture. So here they've not told us which one is important. So both of them are important. So we are going to go back. Remember, when we talked about liquids, we talked about distillation and fractional distillation. And we said distillation is used to separate a liquid from a soluble solid. And fractional distillation is used to separate different liquids, okay, different miscible liquids that have different boiling points. And in our case, water and ethanol have got different boiling points and they are all liquids. So our method of choice will be fractional distillation. Fractional distillation. All right, we move on. We move on to C, and C is saying obtain copper 2 sulfate crystals from a saturated solution, saturated copper 2 sulfate solution. All right, so the keywords there, we are interested in the copper 2 sulfate crystals. All right, from the solution. So this solution is obviously a solution of copper 2 sulfate and water. So what we're interested in is the copper 2 sulfate crystals, and the solution is already saturated. Now, what does saturated mean? Saturated means that this solution can no longer allow any more copper 2 sulfate to dissolve in it. Okay, now here the key word is we are interested in the copper 2 sulfate and they should be in crystalline form. Okay, from this mixture that cannot allow any more copper 2 sulfate. So because it is crystalline form, to separate, to retrieve a solid, a soluble solid from a a, a soluble solid from a solution, we have two different methods, or we can have three. One is distillation. Now, in distillation, we are interested so much in the liquid part of this mixture. So this method will not work for us. The other method is evaporation. Now, in evaporation, the 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 solid, the liquid is not important because it is lost to the environment. Okay? While the solid that remains may not be in crystalline form. Are we together? May not be in crystalline form because almost all the water of crystallization may be lost, okay, or some of them may remain. So here we are not guaranteed of getting a crystalline solid. So it all brings us back to crystallization, and the name suggests that what we'll get are crystals. Okay, what we'll get are crystals, and in crystallization there is evaporation up to the time when the mixture is saturated and crystals start to form. So here we've already been told that the mixture is saturated and we want crystals. So the method of choice will be crystallization. So it's a crystallization. All right. We move on to D. D, obtain barium sulfate from a mixture of barium sulfate and barium nitrate. So our main interest here is barium sulfate from a mixture of barium sulfate and barium what? And sodium nitrate. All right. Now, here the examiner is trying to see if you understand the solubility of salts. These two are both salts, okay? However, one of them is soluble and the other one is insoluble, okay? So uh, barium sulfate is insoluble. Barium sulfate. Remember, all sulfates are soluble except for barium sulfate, lead sulfate, and calcium sulfate. So what we have here is an insoluble salt. And sodium nitrate, on the other hand, we know that all group 1 metal salts are soluble. And again, to re-emphasize on that, we know again that all nitrates are soluble. Therefore, sodium sulfate, as I may say, is beyond reasonable doubt super soluble. So it is just so it is soluble. This one is soluble. So how can we separate a soluble salt from an insoluble salt? They may be in solid form and they are mixed, but what we can do is we can put them in water, stir so that the soluble salt dissolves, leaving the insoluble salt behind as a solid. Then we can filter off the insoluble salt. So we can then filter. So filtering leads us to this a separation technique called filtration. So we will use filtration to separate. We will use filtration to separate barium sulfate from sodium nitrate. We will use filtration to separate barium sulfate from sodium nitrate. All right, we go to E. Separate colored substances in a sample of soft drink. To separate colored substances in a sample of soft drink. Now, here is the thing. In most cases, you hear colored substances in ink, colored substances in what? Uh, what is there is this. When we look at these things, we are generally taught that to separate colored pigments, colored dyes, colored whatever, we use a method called chromatography. Okay, we use a method called chromatography. So here we'll straight away will not discuss anything about those and quickly just say we'll use chromatography. We'll use chromatography. However, it is important to understand the working principle behind chromatography. And remember, this is one of the separation techniques that in most cases we tend to ignore and neglect in finding out the working principle behind it. So I will just state that chromatography is based on of uh, the solubility of solids in a certain solvent. The more soluble a substance is, okay, uh, the more it is raised on a filter paper. The less soluble, the less it moves. So chromatography, just know that chromatography is based on solubility. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching the video. Uh, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that each time we post a video, you are notified in good time. Uh, don't don't forget to keep on studying, okay, because it is through studying that we get good grades. And I urge people to use textbooks to understand concepts, and refer to videos like this for revision purposes. Okay, because it is when you understand a concept that even when the question is rephrased, can you be able to understand what is actually going on. Otherwise, thank you very much. See you next time.